It is pleasure in seeing our justice system work the way it should for terrorists, domestic terrorists, who try to overthrow the government. And but what I'm talking about, this is not a done deal yet, but the Justice Department is seeking 33 years in prison for this pop-eyed asshole Enrique Tarrio, the Proud Boys leader, who was convicted of seditious conspiracy in what had to be the most serious case to emerge from the attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, this is according to court documents. I mean, the prosecutors don't come out and make an announcement, but they file their request with the court, and then it becomes a matter of public record. Now, the sentence, 33 years in prison, if it is imposed, and I hope it will be, it would be the longest punishment that's been handed down in this huge, massive prosecution of people involved in the riot on January 6, 2021. If you remember, another one of these miserable son of a bitches who should be put on a boat and kicked out of the United States, Stewart Rhodes, remember him, of the wildly misnamed Oath Keepers. They are oath destroyers. But Stewart Rhodes, who was also convicted in a separate case of seditious conspiracy, he received the longest sentence up to now, 18 years. So it would give me great pleasure to see this Enrique Tarrio freak get what the prosecutors are asking for. Now, Tarrio used to be the national chairman of the far-right Proud Boys. Proud Boys, Jesus Christ. He was their national chairman. But he and three of his brown shirt lieutenants were convicted back in May by a D.C. jury of conspiring to, block the transfer of presidential power, yada, yada, yada. And their hope was to keep the orange bastard Donald Trump in the White House after he lost the 2020 election. God, don't you get tired of hearing people say that or some variation of that just over and over and over again? And I do apologize. Tarrio was the top target of the Justice Department, of what has become the largest department investigation in American history. He's the one who led this fascist group of punk bastards when Trump infamously told the Proud Boys, remember during the first debate with Joe Biden, when he was forced to tell the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by? Oh, my God. And according to information that came as a result of the trial, once the orange bastards said that, stand back and stand by, the membership of this terrorist organization increased dramatically, in order to follow Jesus, Donald Trump. Anyway, during the trial, and it's been going on for months for these seditious son of a bitches, the prosecutors argued that this group of cowardly little pricks, the Proud Boys, viewed themselves as Trump's foot soldiers fighting for Trump, as the Republican Party spread all these lies and bullshit that Democrats stole the election from their precious Donnie Trump. And it turned out that these scum were prepared to go to war to keep their preferred leader in power. Yeah. Well, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Just a platoon of Marines up against these cowardly little animals, and it would have been all over very quickly. But anyway, in their filing yesterday, asking for 33 years in the slam, the prosecutors wrote, among other things, this, according to the Associated Press, quote, "They unleashed a force on the Capitol that was calculated to exert their political will on elected officials by force and to undo the results of a democratic election. These foot soldiers of the right aimed to keep their leader in power. They failed. They are not heroes. They are criminals," end quote. and I would add a modifier in front of the word criminal. I would say they are cowardly. I'd add another one, pissy, maybe another one, psychotic criminals. What a bunch of losers. Jesus. Now, the prosecutors are also asking for a similar sentence, 33 years in the slam, for one of Tarrio's co-defendants, and that would be Joseph Biggs of Ormond Beach, Florida, who, during the trial, and none of these defendants showed any remorse. They considered themselves to be, in the vanguard of defending freedom in America, but he described himself as a Proud Boys organizer. Now, the prosecutors are also asking for a 30-year sentence to be imposed on Zachary Rail, who was president of the Proud Boys chapter in Philadelphia. Also, 27 years in the slam for Ethan Nordine of Auburn, Washington State, who was the Proud Boys chapter president, and 20 years for Dominic Pizzola, a little creep bastard from Rochester, New York. Pizzola was acquitted of seditious conspiracy, but convicted of other serious charges. So instead of 30-plus years for Pizzola, they're only asking for 20. Now, Tarrio wasn't actually in D.C. on January 6th because he had been arrested 2 days earlier in a separate case and told to stay out of the capital city. But as the prosecutors pointed out during the trial, he organized and directed the attack by these unproud little bastards when they stormed the Capitol on January 6th. Now, defense attorneys, and aren't we glad that we have defense attorneys? I'm not being a smartass. We have to have defense attorneys, especially if we are a criminal son of a bitch like this group, who should be in a different time and different place, just declared summarily guilty and summarily executed out behind the building somewhere. Isn't that how it works? That's how it works in the history books and in the movies, right? You're guilty. I regret I only have one life. Bang! But the defense attorneys, in arguing to try to defend these bastards, they said there was no conspiracy and no plan to attack the Capitol. Not at all. Whatever you saw or heard is just smoke. None of that ever happened. And the defense attorneys also tried to describe the Proud Boys as an unorganized drinking club whose members' participation in the riot was a spontaneous act fueled by Trump's election rage. Really? Now, the drinking club, that is a slur on the Irish because the Proud Boys supposedly is modeled on the street gangs that used to roam the streets of Belfast, the Irish brawlers. So it's a slur on them, on the Irish, the attorneys, to call the Proud Boys a drinking club. And to say that their participation in the riot was a spontaneous act. There was no planning. When the evidence is a goddamn mile high about the planning and the co-conspirators and the emails and the texts and the messages that flew back and forth for months. But the defense attorneys are trying to find at least, or were trying to find at least one juror who would display his or her doubt about the culpability of these bastards. And of course, apparently they did not find that juror because they were found guilty. Now, attorneys for the Proud Boys also, once they read the filing from the prosecutors, they said, wait, these are too extreme. 33 years for our innocent little patriotic Americans, our Proud Boys, members of a drinking club, who were caught up by Trump's rhetoric. Oh, Jesus. the defense attorneys said that the chaos on that day was fueled by Trump's false election claims. Really? Well, then maybe Trump should be on trial. Oh, wait, that's right. And a lawyer for the little scum bastard Biggs and the scum bastard Rel told the judge that, quote, believing the commander-in-chief and heeding his call should yield some measure of mitigation. Nice try, defense attorney. Nice try. But what you're saying with that is that your clients are such weaselly little, easily led jerk-offs that their defense is a variation of, well, the devil made me do it. Yeah, okay. Now, the attorney for one of them, one of these defendants, a little creep bastard named Norm Pattis, his attorney said, quote, the defendants are not terrorists. Whatever excesses of zeal they demonstrated on January 6th, and no matter how grave the potential interference with the orderly transfer of power due to the events of that day, a decade or more behind bars is an excessive punishment, end quote. You think, gee, Mr. Attorney, for one of these creep bastards, I'll bet you would find millions of Americans, millions of us, who would disagree with your whiny little defense of your client that a decade or more behind bars is an excessive punishment. What would you suggest, Mr. Attorney? And by the way, do these defense attorneys not fully comprehend that if a new world order that would be designed by Donald Trump and these fascists in the United States, a new order of government and control and power, that the first to be put up against a wall and shot would be defense attorneys? Because when the state, in a fascist society, when the state accuses you of something, you have no defense. You are already guilty. You're guilty once the accusation is made. Oh, now if you take a look at the fascist regime in Russia, sure, there are defense attorneys. That's what they're called. But they are nothing more than little shills, little puppets, little worms who do exactly what Vladimir Putin tells them to do. But to give the illusion that there is a defense, well, we are a law-abiding country. Horse turds. So, I can't help but wonder, in all these trials where these defense attorneys have come to the rescue of these terrorists, realize who these people are and what they would do to the defense attorneys if their system ever was established in this country. Oh, well. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. The Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.